Hello guys, and welcome back to another Jensen Media video. Now like I said guys, I'm going to be doing different things here and there. I'm going to be trying to do a podcast, and if you did see the most recent update for the channel video, then you probably realize that videos on the channel are going to slow down, but I promise they are not stopping, and this is proof of that. And today we're going to be taking a look and reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy. And this of course is going to be a spoiler-free review because I don't believe in spoilers on this channel. It's also worth noting that this is the PS5 version of the game that I did play. Now originally when this game was first announced, I wasn't really too keen on it because of the disaster that was Avengers. But as time moved on, a lot more information came out and more footage seemed to keep coming out on this game, and I started to get really excited for it because it was very clear they were trying to not make the same mistakes that they did with Avengers. And well, were they successful at being the complete opposite of what that game was? And is it actually awesome? Or did they fall into the same trap that Avengers did and this game sucks? Let's go ahead and find out. First, right off the bat, there is a lot to love here. If you love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and 80s rock, this is going to be such an awesome game for you. The game hits all the right notes and it shows a whole lot of passion throughout. You can see they did exactly what they wanted to do. It stayed very far away from the Avengers game, and it's fully a single player experience, and there are zero microtransactions in this game. Every single unlockable can be unlocked just by playing the game. And honestly, that's pretty rare to see these days. You don't really see a game that has all of the unlockables just there in the game, no expectations of paying for anything or any extra DLC you need. And yes, there was pre-order DLC, but you can actually unlock that within the game as well. I was of course excited to play the game, but it really raised that bar for me from where my expectations were. Because like I said, I still was a little bit iffy because of Avengers, so I wasn't really sure what I was going into. The beginning of the game will take you into events that lead you to have to save the galaxy, which is pretty much what this band of misfits is supposed to do. Throughout the game, you and your team will banter and fight among each other in very humorous ways, very much to how the Guardian style is. A loving but easily annoyed family, and trust me, you'll constantly hear it consistently. The game does a good job at making all these unique characters unique to themselves. And yes, you can only play as Star-Lord, but every single character is 100% on point to who they are. The devs did an awesome job in just getting everything right here, and every character is true to themselves. You can definitely see the contrast between each one, hence all the colorful banter you will hear throughout the game. Unlike the Avengers game, everything here feels like it has a ton of heart and soul put into it, alongside all of the epic 80s action and music that you could possibly handle, with tons of Guardians of the Galaxy-like humor thrown throughout. There is a sort of balance between all these little fights and banters, and then the heartfelt moments that the characters all share with each other. It's very much a family of misfits, and you really feel that through the whole game. Sometimes they will just be fighting among themselves, or maybe even fighting their own demons internally, or opening up to each other. And each character develops and grows in their own sort of way. It's just awesome and a very unique experience. Like I said, you can only really control Star-Lord, or Quill as you might want to call him, but you can direct your team to do what you want them to do. You are pretty much the driving force behind them. Star-Lord can take command of them with tactile inputs to help the flow of combat kind of be a well-oiled machine. There is a lot of tactics and strategy that can go into fighting enemies, but you also have to realize there is a ton of chaos in there as well. So everything kind of meshes in one with all of the chaos. Kind of part tactical, part action, and yes, a lot of chaos. There is also some exploration in the game, but for the most part, it's pretty direct. Yeah, you might have to go off the beaten path every once in a while to find an unlockable, but most of the time you are just kind of going towards your goal. You can, however, hunt down collectibles, alternative outfits, and crafting materials you can be used for perks, but there just isn't much in terms of exploration off that normal beaten path. Each character has special moves that you can command, and it's the same with the abilities as well, and you can even gain more as the game progresses. Star-Lord can also gain different elements to use on his gun to help keep the fight interesting and varied. And the combat does stay very tactical and varied at times, and there is a rhyme to the reason, but other times it really did feel quite chaotic, and it just kind of felt like I was throwing every ability and special move at the enemies until they no longer existed. And oftentimes when I did try to use strategy and be smart about things, the chaos of the battle would kind of mess up my plan and something I would think was a killer setup and more of a missed opportunity. There can be a lot going on at once, and yes, more times than not, it can mess you up if you're trying some sort of approach. With that being said though, the combat, even with all the chaotic elements, was still quite fun and engaging, and all the characters act like you think they would in the midst of combat. Star-Lord can boost around in his jet boots, gunning down foes with great precision, all while commanding the team towards victory. Gamora and Drax, however, have great skill at close combat and love to get in there up close and personal to slay their enemies. Then you have Rocket, who will just ride around on Groot, taunting everyone and using his deadly arsenal to try and help gain the upper hand. The most awesome part of combat, and the most epic, is the huddles. Over the course of battles, you will slowly work up your huddle meter, and when it's filled, Star-Lord will execute a huddle. He rallies his team with an epic speech, which you will have to get all the right words to say, and if you do, you'll get a damage reduction, and alongside that, a boost for all your cooldowns. But that's not even the epic part. Star-Lord will load up a mixtape and will put on some 80s rock tunes to turn up the jam and ramp up the battle. And this can really create some epic and sometimes hilarious moments. You might ramp up the action to take on me, or you might even be battling it out to Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. You never really know what you're gonna get, and it never really got old. The game is very awesome, but that doesn't mean there isn't any kind of issues. There's a few here and there. I had moments in the game where I just could not continue moving forward. There would be no way of continuing because the event that needed to trigger just would not pop up. So I would be stuck with trying to reload the game, and of course that would fix it, but this happened around 3 or 4 times to me. There was also a few graphical glitches here and there. One noticeable one that I do remember was Drax's swords kind of clipped through his body at times. But also, I think both of those got fixed with the day 1 patch, so I can't really gripe that much about them. Other than that, the game really does look quite gorgeous on the PS5, and the action stays quite solid for me throughout the whole entire game, and the story is kind of a remix of the comic book stories that I won't really get into because, like I said, I don't really want to spoil anything. You'll come across many different characters and planets that are familiar, and everything is written extremely well, and the tale that they did weave here is definitely quite immersive and engaging. Not only that, but you will have moments where Star-Lord's actions and choices actually do matter. We've all come across these sort of things in video games. Some of these choices affect the outcome of the end of the game, which you do have multiple endings in this game. There's not a whole lot of branching paths ultimately, but the choices you do make do affect the end of the game. The whole pacing of the game is actually done fairly well, but the last few hours of the game does drag on a little bit. With that being said though, after everything is said and done, I spent about 20 hours in the game, and of course your mileage will vary. So does this succeed? Hell yes. In every single way you could possibly want a Guardians of the Galaxy game, this hits all of those notes out of the park. Is it perfect? No. Sometimes the combat is too crazy for its own good, and it's kind of drawn out by the end, but it's close to being perfect to me. It's a very nice surprise considering how much of a train wreck the Avengers game was. It feels like they really tried to learn from the mistakes of the Avengers game, even though they're still kind of making those mistakes. They really kind of honed in on what the Guardians of the Galaxy is, and because of that, that, it's spot on. It's incredibly awesome, and you can see it has a ton of heart and yes, a ton of comedy within it. Pair that with the awesome 80s soundtrack and it really brings it all together. I'm giving this a 10 out of 10 easily. This game came at the right time for the devs because they really kind of needed a win after their last game. They proved that they can still make a hero game and make it work. So that's it guys, thanks for watching this video. I just wanted to bring this review to you guys. It's actually a really awesome game. I recommend it so much. If you want a really immersive and story-driven single-player game, don't look any farther than this. And if you are a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, that even boosts it up even more. So that's it guys, thanks for watching, you have a good rest of your day.